So we start each week with one of us coming up with an idea for a character.
We make heroes. We make villains.
The fun show nobody gets to see. The best show happens backstage. That's kind of what we're saying, is we're inviting you in to enjoy the parts of the process that we enjoy.
If anyone listening gets inspired to make something original for themselves, then we've done our job.
I think that even though the whole podcast is us creating the character, it's a podcast about writing process.
And we forget it's a podcast and get lost in the story.
Hello out there, everybody. Welcome to episode 4 of the Be Mega podcast. If you were with us last week, we created an original hero called Vitamin Spider. Luke, have you taken your vitamins since last week?
I've just hung out with spiders, hoping they would pass some gas and give me some nutrients.
Get a little vitamin fart boost from a spider.
Yeah, definitely. It hasn't worked though.
With that. Well, it would be a good thing leading into Thanksgiving before you eat that heavy meal. Get a little immune system boost before you fill it up with starch and gravy. Time to be mega.
Every week, one of us comes up with an original idea for a character name.
Then we create the beginning pieces of an origin story for this character.
During a brainstorming session, we combine elements from both origins.
We add fun stuff like
mega power, mega ability, mega item, weaknesses, nemesis.
We combine all of those elements to create the Mega Origin. Previously at the Mega HQ. Hey, Adam.
Hey, Luke.
Do you think supervillains have interventions?
When somebody's gone too dark, or?
Yeah, like in the criminal underworld, they sit around and they see one particular villain who's gone over the edge a little too far, and do you think they come together and they're like, hey, we need
that. Like, hey, you're making us all look bad.
Yeah,
we're supposed to keep it within certain.
That's one stomped puppy too many. Like less punching and more hugging. I don't know that the criminals or the villains would necessarily take the initiative to put together an intervention. So I imagine that there is a hero with this specific purpose. That hero's name is The Intervention.
Mega Origin.
So this week's character, The Intervention, we start with a life coach and motivational speaker. This is a very confident, kind of grossly optimistic, exuberant in that way that feels plastic to a lot of people person. The thing that's most important to this person, the thing that she values most of all, is her ability to turn someone's day around with a hug.
Aww.
Yeah, she prides herself on giving really warm and impactful hugs. The thing that's most important to this person is a whistle that she wears around her neck that she uses to get people excited. So when she's speaking, she uses that to really raise the energy. So she has this whistle with her at all times. She also uses it to really get the attention of people she's talking to and trying to work with. Her biggest challenge in life is, as a motivational speaker and as a life coach, she struggles with the cynicism of the younger generation. That's her biggest challenge in life, is to overcome the cynical nature of young people. And the thing that happened to make her mega was that she was speaking at a junior high school in the cafetorium. It was an especially dirty school cafeteria, as they often are, I suppose. And this one was filled with, just had lots of, like, the tables were up against the wall and they were all covered in just sort of crusty, decomposing lunchroom food. A huge amount of mysterious gas from the day's what they called mixed bag chili, which was just a chili concoction made out of all of the variety of things that had been on the menu that week. The gases that had built up in the kitchen behind her where she spoke caused an explosion while she was speaking. And the gases gave her great and new powers, and she became the Intervention.
Mega Origin.
My origin story for the intervention starts with an upbeat bartender. She enjoys her job so much she converted the storage room into a living quarters so she can be there as much as possible. The thing that makes her the happiest in life is helping other people solve their problems, giving advice to people so they can maybe solve the problems themselves. The thing that's really most important to her is just being very confident in herself. And she's an excellent listener. She can sit down and listen to a person talk for hours without complaining, without fidgeting, without having to get up. The thing that transformed her into the intervention was an evening when she walked into the bar. Before she worked there, she came in as a patron and saw the bartender, this old man, laying by himself next to the bar and gasping for breath. She went to help, and he gave her this glowing, enchanted bar rag. In his final moments, told her that she was the next incarnation of mankind's greatest optimist, the intervention.
Brainstorm time.
So what do you think of the bartender aspect?
I really like it a lot. I was going to suggest maybe a bartender and amateur motivational speaker, but nobody comes. That does community centers and
like giving a talk on
right.
how to hug people and make people's lives better. And, and nobody
absolutely. That's what she does during the day when she's not tending bars. But it's goes to nursing homes and and they don't want to listen to her talk about this. For the people who need it, it is genuinely good.
Like those few that are really seeking something out. She happens upon those people and it's that's
100%. Yeah. As much of a trope as that is, the bartender who lends an ear, that is such a universal truth, man. I have had some real bartender therapists that I probably didn't tip well enough over the years. That's a nice layering. I like that. And that, I think it speaks to that purpose that you already had of doing good and helping people. It would be like she's trying to do that, reach more people other than just the people at the bar, but unsuccessfully.
So it's when she's at the bar and she's handing out advice and wisdom, people are a little loosened up and their barriers are down and they're more open to her words of wisdom. Whereas,
so that could be the thing is we could say, what if she can't communicate with people who are cynical or something that people who are being, I don't know, something about she has to have an intoxicated audience or something but that she can't speak to people who are will push back and don't want to listen to her, that she's only able to really communicate to an open audience. So she's never been able to take off as a motivational speaker because that's not really how it works.
But her heart of hearts wants to help those people who are cynical. She has a hard time with them, but she tries her hardest, obsessively trying to help these people that refuse to have help.
And is so driven to do so that she just tortures herself every day and just puts all of her life. Maybe that's part of why she lives at the bar too, that she just puts everything she has into getting out there and helping people and then just fails miserably over and over again. What if the fellow who passes on the bar rag, I'm not sure I'm crazy about it being a bar rag, because I think I wondered if it could be a person that she met, that she was doing giving a how to hug and make it matter talk at the community center or something, and nobody showed up except as she was walking out, she encountered this person who came in to listen to her and passed on something then.
Gives her a little bit of wisdom, don't give up. What you're doing is for the good of mankind, and keep at this admirable career. And then they disappear. She turns around and poof, this person's gone.
Why her? I love just the idea of her encountering this person who gives her an item that then I'm just not sure.
What about the whistle?
Oh, that's an interesting idea. It could be the whistle. That she's out speaking and he gives her a whistle that then has the power to get everyone's attention within a certain radius. Or something that when she blows the whistle, everyone is forced to pay attention to her for an amount of time.
All heads turn in her direction.
Right. Yeah, that the whistle is like that's one of the powers, or
Yeah.
that item holds a lot of the power. I think that that we've added this element of her having her intentionally out doing good. That gives it to me. That gives her a kind of a life's purpose.
Yes.
That there would be a reason that this mystical being would have sought her out because she's the most positive person or something that she continues to go out there even after getting beaten down.
That makes sense. It's in mine. It's just like this old bartender. You're a bar fly. Here, take over the bar. Do good.
No, that's good. I did like that it was tied to the bar. So I don't know. Maybe that we can come back to that. But I think maybe the powers that when you have the whistle, it gives. Well, we can get into the powers, but maybe part of what the whistle does, in addition to it specifically giving you the ability to get people's attention. Maybe the whistle also. Maybe she also then you have the power to create meaningful metaphors from your life that affect people. So all of her metaphors are bar related. That because that's how she knows to communicate. But whoever the intervention is communicates in meaningful metaphors from their existence.
Yes. Don't be down. The corn nuts basket is never entirely empty.
He who eats many pretzels. I don't know why it had to be it had to be Confucius for some reason. I don't know why it needed to be. But if you eat too many pretzels, then you'll definitely need a drink. That sort of.
Don't these two numbskulls know what a metaphor is?
A friend is that bar stool that fits the shape of your butt.
Life is a bowl of corn nuts. Enjoy each crunch and try not to choke.
Life has a last call. Savor every sip.
Marriage is a pretzel, hard and twisted, but worth the effort.
Way to go, gentlemen. And now, back to the podcast.
Mega powers.
So one of the powers that the intervention possesses is the ability to scream with the voice of reason. It's a bellowing cry that can persuade enemies to change their minds in the middle of battle or while they're committing a crime, and it can just sway them to make better decisions.
So is it just the volume and power behind the voice, or is it also what she says?
There's not an intelligent syllable in anything she says. It's just
I got it.
The sound and the resonance and the depth and the reverberation. Yes.
Mega power.
So my first power ties back to stuff we were already talking about with this whistle, but getting more into what the whistle can do. The whistle can get anybody's attention within her visual field. So any person within the range of as far as she can see. Okay. So, however far that is. When she blows the whistle, immediately their attention is on the intervention. Also, though, and this comes in handy as people try to escape an intervention or for crime fighting purposes or general safety, the whistle has kind of a higher pitch that you don't hear, but that knocks anyone unconscious in that range.
Make them take a quick nap.
Just put them right out. Done.
Mega power.
One of the intervention's secondary powers is the ability to generate blasts of introspective energy at her enemies. It causes them to pause and reflect on their life's choices and all the decisions that they've made that have led to their current situation. She can use the whistle to call their attention and then shoot the introspective blast, and they all just kind of stand there in a stupor, just a single tear rolling down their cheeks as they think about all the things that they've done.
As they sit and ponder their...
Like, I shouldn't have burnt that puppy when I was a kid.
It's heavy.
Weakness.
Because of what the intervention does and because of the intervention's sort of purpose in the world of turning everyone's negativity into positive feelings and spreading hugs and happiness and love and self-actualization among the people, that takes a large toll on the emotions of the intervention. the intervention has a strong threshold for how much negativity she's able to take with her newfound powers, but she has to replenish all of that positivity with positive connection and hugs. So she continues to work at the bar, but she's started volunteering and spends a great deal of her time volunteering with children, and a hug from a kid has the most regenerative power for the intervention.
Enemy.
The intervention's nemesis is a demon called the Doldrum. It's a depressed demon who wanders the earth, causing despair among humans. And because he chooses to be negative, he chooses to be depressed, the intervention can't sway his negative personality. It's nearly impossible for her to persuade him with her powers to change his ways. Most of their battles normally end with the intervention becoming just reflective of her own shortcomings in dealing with the Doldrum, while the Doldrum escapes to cause depression another day.
His purpose in life is to bring sadness and despair to people.
Yes. He did not get enough hugs when he was a kid.
This just in from Megaton City. Gang of supervillains reduced to tears when faced with self-reflection facilitated by the intervention.
Mega Origin.
Camille Duncan was an outgoing bartender who yearned to help solve other people's personal problems. She lived in the storage room of the Junction Box, a lonely bar full of sad losers and dissatisfied ruffians where she spent many nights serving drinks and listening to the patrons' depressing life stories. Camille spent her days as a fledgling motivational speaker, sharing her unbridled optimism at schools, nursing homes, and grocery store checkout lanes. Life took a turn when Camille tried to speak at the local bowling alley and attracted a crowd of only one listener. The mysterious cloaked stranger approached her after her speech and uttered the words, "Where sadness sulks, so too shall the intervention dwell." He thrust a shimmering golden whistle into her hand, made an OK gesture with his fingers, and disappeared with a static pop. Camille suddenly felt her sense of self-worth explode in a frenzy of sunshine, rainbows, and unicorn giggles. Every moment was an opportunity. Every question was a journey. Every problem was a quest, and she suddenly felt the urge to help everyone. All the time. Camille first discovered her true powers when a hooded mugger attacked her with a rusty steak knife outside the Junction Box. She used the whistle to attract help, but to her surprise, it disoriented the assailant. She blasted the sour criminal with a wave of introspective energy, and he began to weep uncontrollably. As she gave the crook a meaningful hug, Camille watched a dark entity shift in the shadows. She would come to know that figure as the Doldrum, a depression-inducing monster bent on making all of humanity sad. Camille vowed to stop the demon and anyone else who caused unnecessary despair. She roamed the world, offering her shoulder to anyone who needed it, and she called herself the Intervention.
And that's the origin for the intervention. We hope you enjoyed it. We want to hear what you thought about it. You can find us on Twitter at Megaton City and use the hashtag BMega to join the conversation, and check out our daily updates on MegatonCityNews.com, where you can also see and meet last week's character, the Vitamin Spider. So Luke, how did you feel about where we ended up with the intervention after you had the initial idea?
You know, they say that two heads are better than one. This is a perfect example of how two different visions of the same idea can really turn into something even greater.
It was a really additive process this week.
It was definitely, we started with that initial concept, and I think there was some difficulty kind of coming up with something that we were really confident about going into the origin process.
Yeah, I think I can't speak for you, but I was really uncertain about the character that I had created in some key places, and I felt like you kind of were too, and we both went into it, I don't know. And then, it was like, had it not been for the collaboration, we never would have gotten there.
There are some moments you can hear in the brainstorming session where all of a sudden we just everything starts to click, and we get really excited about this character, and it turns into something that neither one of us had really even expected it would be.
We get to that place where for the first time we both actually see a character that we really enjoy and can interact with, and all of a sudden it becomes it's like we had to find that last key element.
The thing that is most surprising to me is the fact that we created a character this week that fights crime without physically fighting crime.
That didn't even occur to me. You're right. The intervention has no physical prowess.
It's all emotional and all from the heart, which is like, that's the core of a superhero, right?
Yeah. But it's so funny that for as much as superheroes are the embodiment of good and conquering evil, why is that always just through muscles and might? Like, it's not, you know what I mean? I mean, maybe not always. That's maybe overstated, but I think you're right. This is, pretty heavily leaned in that direction.
There are normally a lot of bones and buildings broken.
Yeah. And in this case, nothing.
Yeah, just I'm going to make you think about things for a while, and you may get a nice, strong hug, and you're going to change your ways.
Fighting crime, one hug at a time. The intervention. Well, thanks for joining us again for another episode of the B Mega Podcast. We hope to see you here next week. Check us out on Twitter at Megaton City. Use hashtag BMega and find our daily webcomic, MegatonCityNews.com.
I'm Luke.
And I'm Adam. B Mega. I feel like that should be like our going into battle cry. Because of the farts. Like, what?
Silent but deadly.
The
characters and stories in this podcast are the property of Megaton City Creations. Copyright 2015.